Okay, in this video I'm going to introduce trigonometry. So what's trigonometry about? If you actually look at the roots of the word, the trigon actually means triangle and the ometry means measurement. So it's all about finding measurements of a triangle. So what that might mean is finding an angle. So for example here, in this first triangle there's an angle of 30.96 degrees, or it might be about finding a length. For example, this side here, BC, is 3. How can we use trigonometry? So let's look at these two examples. The two triangles, and these are different triangles. You can see this is an angle 30.9. Down here this angle is about 16.69 something. What I want you to have a look at is the ratio here. This side here, BC, is opposite this angle. Okay, so if you were sitting at point A and looking across, you'd see the side BC, so we call that the opposite side with respect to this angle 30.9 something. And this side here is adjacent to that angle. The remaining side in the right angle triangle, and I should have mentioned in trigonometry it's all about right angle triangles, at least in year 9, year 10, this side is the hypotenuse. The longer side is called the hypotenuse. Now look at these two and compare the ratio of the opposite side over the adjacent. Down here the opposite side is 3, opposite 16.69, and the adjacent is 10. So you get these ratios. So in the first triangle the ratio 3 over 5 is 0.6, written as a decimal. And this one here you have a ratio of 3:10 or 3/10, 0.3. Let me expand this side until I get the same ratio as the first triangle. Okay, so this is interesting. This is what trigonometry is all about. Notice now my second triangle actually has the same ratio for the opposite side over the adjacent side. And notice what happens to the angle. The angle is exactly the same. In fact, we have a special name for these triangles. They're called similar triangles. And that is because they are essentially the same shape. Now, in mathematics, same shape is quite a precise meaning. It means that the internal angles are the same. So I can actually, just let me turn my angles on. I have got the other angle. I just need to find it. There it is, there and there. So the top angle here is actually 59 point something, because remember the three angles in a triangle add up to 180. So the corner angle here is 90 and this one is 90. So that must mean this angle on the top corner or top of the triangle must be 90 minus 30.96, and that'll give you an angle about 59. So let me drag that down again. You can see those two angles, the angle at point A and point D, perfectly match. They're exactly the same, and that means the angles in the top corner is also the same, and they both have a right angle. So the three angles are exactly the same. All the pairs of angles, 3 pairs of angles are the same. So we call them similar triangles. And what that means is the ratio of certain sides will always be the same. So here the opposite over the adjacent is 0.6, and this different size triangle but similar to the first, 6/10, 0.6. Let's change our ratio. I'll just move that one up to 0.8, and I probably can move that one up there, and you see again. So what we get here is a different angle in both triangles, but they both again have the same ratio, 0.8, 0.8. Now this particular ratio is called the tangent ratio, and it's normally abbreviated over here as the word tan, T-A-N. That's the short way of writing its full name, tangent, and it's defined as the opposite length over the adjacent length over here. Now where we can use the trigonometry, we can work out angles and sizes. So if you go to your calculator, here's my calculator, and let's have a look at this on the board. So this is called the tangent ratio. Now if you type tan on your calculator and you type this angle in, so here you see the angle's 38.65 something. So let's type that in, and what you'll see is your calculator has all these ratios built in for each angle. And you'll see we get very close. There's a bit of rounding here. You get 0.799999. So that's 0.8. Close enough. Different angle. So let's go back to the 0.6. Again, you can go to your calculator. Let's type in, let's press tan and type 30.9638. There you go, you get 0.6. So your calculator, we can draw 1,000,000 of these triangles that all have a ratio of 0.6 for the opposite over the adjacent, and they all have the same angle of 30.96. So that's what trigonometry allows us. That's the basic concept. There are other ratios which I'll talk about in the next video, but there's the ratio for tan. Now one more thing before I go. What if you didn't know the angle here at these two angles? In fact, what I'll do is I'll hide those angles. I'll just find them. Right, so I've hidden those angles, and what I'll do is I'm going to adjust. Let's go down to say 0.2. If I can get this one down to 0.2. There we go. So you might say, well, what's the angle then? What's the angle that's hidden? So you can't see the angles now because I've hidden them, and I just want to just want to hide those top angles. So, well, if you look at this, there's a function in the calculator called the inverse, which will tell you for a particular ratio what angle corresponds to that. So to access the inverse, and because the tan ratio you're told here for both these triangles is 0.2, so go to your calculator and you go shift in tan inverse and you type in the ratio, and the inverse tan here will give you the angle, and you find the angle is 11.30 something degrees. Let's just check that. I can go back and turn on that angle and just find somewhere back up here. There it is there. I've just turned that angle on. It's exactly what we got for the calculator, and that'll be the same for the one down the bottom. Okay, so that's what our trig ratios do. In this video I've looked at a particular trig ratio, the tan ratio, which is always the opposite length over the adjacent. You can use the calculator to find what the actual tan ratio is by just taking the tan key and typing in the angle. So here 11.3099, and we get 0.199 something, which matches the 0.2. And the reverse situation is, let's say you want to find the angle, well, you just type inverse tan 0.2, type in the ratio, and you get 11.309. Okay, so that's a basic introduction to trigonometry, the concept of trigonometry.